Hello and welcome to this evening's Mapping It Out. Well, the month of May has been a very busy month, and today you're going to see not one, but two demos, some very exciting demos as well. Lots of goodies have been added for us to play with. I'm super excited. My name is Guy, and we're going to get Till to join me very, very shortly so that we can start discussing all the things that have been happening in the last month. If you do have a question, please put the word question in caps, and ask your question in the chat. We've got it open and we are monitoring. I will then ask that question to Till as soon as it is appropriate. And bear in mind, sometimes your questions might only be appropriate for later on in the show. If you are new to the show, we talk about all things generally related to Dungeon Fog, and then we jump into the battlemap editor, and then towards the end of the show, we talk about DEIOS, where it is all about city map building, world building, and all kinds of things. And there's some very exciting announcements on both those platforms, as a matter of fact. But without further ado, let's get Till to join me. Hello, Till. Welcome to the show.
Hello, welcome everyone. Hi, Guy. Thanks as always for being our moderator here tonight.
My pleasure, my pleasure. Till, I love learning all of these things that are coming through that you guys do on a monthly basis. You guys have been working quite hard in May. I thought, wasn't there supposed to be holiday season or something?
Yeah. Well, it was to some extent. There were couple of days where everyone could lean back and relax a bit. Still, we got quite a lot of things done, which makes me very happy. Yeah, I'm so excited for tonight. There's going to be cool stuff to show.
Absolutely. And so what you've done is you've compiled pretty much an overview of the whole situation that's happening within the Dungeon Fog space. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, since back in, what was it, 2017, when it was just the battlemap editor, we now have, quite the bouquet of applications and things that are happening. So to get a good overview of what's going on, and I mean, what we're doing here is this should be kind of a dev talk, behind the screens situation where we on a monthly basis talk about what's going on here at Dungeon Fog in our company, what's happening. And since there are so many different places where things are happening now, I think having a better overview is actually quite helpful.
Absolutely. Well, let's bring in our company news.
Yes. Company news.
There you go. Oh, you always get new stuff every month, but the music remains the same. Anyway, with regards to the company news, Till, let's start with battlemap editor.
Yes, exactly. So this is what you've been hinting at. The compiled overview. So right now we have, let's say we have three different product groups that we're working on, and the first one is the battlemap editor, which is the web version of the battlemap editor, which you all know at dungeonfog.com, where you create your amazing battle maps. So recently released was battlemap version 5.13.4, which included a lot of bug fixes, mainly in regards to cleaning up the transition to the asset manager, asset migration, login issues, and stuff like that. Filter issues that came along where now you can filter much more precisely in your categories when you're in the battlemap editor, you're trying to find a specific asset. So all those things are already on the live server. They have been released in, I think, last week, most likely. I can't remember when exactly. But But in this column, you will always see stuff that has already been released to the live service, which means that it's active and you can look at it. If you want to see more details about that, we're not going to look at each patch note in details. On our website, dungeonfog.com/changelog, there you can find all the patch notes and all the details throughout all those categories, and you can dive in there in detail. Here, I would like to put the emphasis on the things that are currently being worked on, that are cooking behind the scenes. And therefore, we have the second column, which is getting ready. And in that specific instance, I want to showcase stuff that is being prepped, being tested, and is not too far away to show to you, because it wouldn't make sense to show stuff that might be being released in half a year. So getting ready is always something that is kind of being prepared for the next release. And as you can see, for version 5.13.4, which is wrong, I think it should be 5.13.5. Sorry, I made a mistake in my versioning numbering. You are going to see a really exciting thing, which is the AI generate to use maps, like the things that you draw, and turn them automatically into read alouds. And we have a special segment today where we are actually going onto the test server and we're going to play around with it. It's being tweaked, so we had a lot of fun last week playing with it. ChatGPT can really do weird things with the maps that you draw. But okay. I think you'll all enjoy it. And I think once it's released, it's super helpful. I'm looking forward to using it for my games. But we're going to talk about it in a minute. And the Outlook column basically is just about stuff that is on the roadmap, where we say, okay, this is something that we want to tackle next. The list is not specifically in order. So whatever comes up first, whatever kind of probably comes with synergies, is something that we take next. And it also shows stuff that is kind of in the long run development in there.
Fantastic.
Exactly. Yeah. So battlemap editor, some recent fixes has been released. Something new is brewing and coming up very soon, and there's still a lot of stuff to do in the future. So next up we have DEIOS. Exactly. So in DEIOS we had 2 weeks ago we had the terrain update, which brought a very interesting new way to draw terrain in the city maps, which I think is going to be very useful for world maps as well. And that is that you can now kind of raise and lower terrain levels. And we're going to look at that in our demo as well. And getting ready for version 6.7 or 0.6.7 is the next patch. That patch is actually already in QA testing, so I'm very confident that it is being released next week. And that's city assets and bug fixing in regards to the city map maker. We have our first new asset pack for the city maps. I mean, we had the big city map asset overhaul last month, but those were the already existing asset packs. Now we're actually releasing the first new edition, and I think they're going to be super helpful, and I can't wait to show them to you. This is, however, not what we have been doing most of the time in May. This is just something that has been going along and is ready to be released. Most of May was actually spent on the world map updates, and we're going to talk a little bit about that because we're making quite good progress there, and we have now transitioned from city map making back into world map polishing, and I hope that in the next couple of months we are going to hand out all those updates to the world map editor to you.
And just quickly on that, are the team excited for what they're seeing happen to the world map as they are doing these updates, or is that too early to say yet?
Oh no, we actually, as always, we kind of have to tune ourselves back a bit, because we've been in I think first or second or early second week of May, we have been kind of doing a review of everything that went into the city map editor, and how can that kind of transition into world map making. And there is, from the way that you're handling and doing stuff in the city map maker, it's such a big improvement to what you've been doing in the world map maker. And it kind of, our experience has grown over the year working on the city map maker, and now everyone's excited to take all those learnings and all those tools back into the world map editor. And although we went at some point, like for example with the terrain elevation, we went kind of crazy there, we always paid attention to the how would you say, cross compatibility back to the world map editor. So none of that is a big, like massive move over. All of that is basically just clean up and trying to position it into the world map editor, and then make sure that it works with the functionalities that are in the world map editor in there. So bringing those things over isn't that much of an effort as it was to create it in the first place.
Okay, cool. Nicholas Kopp, I will get to your question, but just not yet, because we've got to talk about the third asset.
Exactly. So the third asset, or the third product that has been released this year, is the asset manager. And with all new releases, every new baby product that comes to the market, it is slowly maturing. So we still spend some time on addressing stuff that is kind of post-release effect. So we did some bug fixing in Asset Manager version 102 that has been released at the start of May. And then we had another update to the filters alongside with the bug fixes in the battlemap editor with Asset Manager version 103. And version 104 is now slowly, so we're slowly getting there, where it's tuning down on misbehavior or unwanted effects, and just into regular improvement and fixing and adjusting to what you as the community feedback to us, where we say, okay, this needs to be a little bit adjusted, this needs to be a little bit adjusted. So version 104 is getting ready. But getting ready means it's kind of a collection pot where we look at what's being reported to us, collect it in there, and once we feel like, okay, this makes a good patch to update it, we will release it. So not necessarily, it could be next week, it could be in 2 months, depending on how much feedback we get that you feel is broken or unwanted behavior, or might need some improvements there. And we're just collecting it into the next update for the asset manager, and then we're handing it out.
Apparently it sounds like I'm in an empty room. Maybe I am. I mean, there's nothing behind me.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Yes, we'll work on that. I don't know why that's happening. Anyway. But that's not on the list of bug fixes for today, but it will be on for next month. So here we are. Okay, so this is an overview. Till I think it's pretty exciting. And now we're going to deep dive into each of these that we've kind of highlighted.
So the reason I'm showing this is because I think it's really exciting to see how many different places are being worked on and are being developed. Because as you see on the release, we had kind of 4 different things that went live just in May, right? And also the team is working on, let's call it broader categories, 3 different broader categories as well as stuff that's also happening behind the screens that doesn't make it into the getting ready. Like the world map update is being worked on, but nothing to show yet. Or the DEIOS integration for the asset manager, where you can actually manage your DEIOS assets in the asset manager, is being worked on, but there's nothing to show. There might never be something to show because it's just working, or it's just in the process of development, which might take more time than just a month's step to finish it. But it will end there eventually on this board, and we will see when it makes it to a release version. Right.
All right, DEIOS. Not
No,
DEIOS.
not
Battlemap news.
Battlemap news. So let's talk about Battlemap specifically.
Yes.
And that is, again, let me just highlight it for you quickly, and that's the AI generate stuff.
Yes.
Now
we've already got questions on this.
Yep.
Just
let's bring in that nice slide here, and then let's start answer some questions. Or I would talk a little bit about the why did we do this.
Let's ask this question first, because I think it'll settle some minds. So Nicholas Kopp asks, which version of GPT are you using? Will GPT 4-0 be available?
Well, so I think we're using GPT 3.50 at the moment, and the only reason for that is that is it 4.0 or 4.50? I can't remember. It's so the latest version is double the price. In terms of, so what you're doing is whenever you send a prompt to ChatGPT invoices us basically for the prompt that's being transmitted to ChatGPT and the result that's being transmitted back to us. Until we know that this is a high wanted feature and people are kind of going crazy with it, we're keeping it on the low budget for us. Because if we go into ChatGPT 4.0, the biggest, like the turbo one that is being recently released right now, this is going to be so expensive in the long run, probably, that we might need, if we want to do that, we might need to introduce a different tier on the monthly subscription or the annual subscription, just to cover the costs if you go crazy on ChatGPT interaction there. So we haven't done this before, which means we need to kind of learn our trade here first. And it's better to upgrade later than to run bankrupt and say, "Oh, we need to downgrade. You're spending all our money." So we're starting low, and if it performs, if you're happy, if everyone enjoys it, and we have a better understanding of the kind of the cost, then we will, of course, definitely upgrade and tune it up to better language models.
Okay. So what inspired this inclusion?
Yes. I don't know. I think I'm not the only one who has the problem as a map maker. You're drawing the maps, and then you're so enthralled and engaged with the map that you're like, yeah, that's the room. So when you present it to your players, you're in that spot where you say, well, there's the room.
Yeah, you can see it.
You can see it.
All the beauty.
Yeah, there's a look at it. There's a well there, or an atlas, or whatever. But you don't narrate what what your players are experiencing when you enter the room, and when you then quickly try to do it, you're like, and there and the wall is cobblestone, and there's a couch. And the desk, oh, by the way, the light is real, dark light, dim, terrible, and smelly. Yeah, no, not the light, but the rest. Yeah. So you're not, me personally, I like to have read alouds. I like to have a little snippet that I can, while I present the map, I can tell people what they see or what the atmosphere is. And so we were, I think a lot of us, when I say a lot of us, I mean in terms of me and my team, who are also game masters, we already use ChatGPT. We're using it for game prep. We're using it for while we run the game, to quickly throw out some NPC names or have some background story info on something. So it has already bled into our games to use ChatGPT. And when we started to familiarize ourselves with the tool, we realized, wait a minute, there is a really big advantage and strength in the way that Dungeon Fog creates maps, because a room is an instance that actually contains all the information from the floor coloring, the walls, every prop that's in there, every brush that's in there. All this information is already in there. And if you remember, our GM notes already make a list of those things and describe very rudimentary what that room is made of. So it wasn't a big throw to say, hey, wait, what if we pass that information? What if we tailor a specific prompt that we can pass to ChatGPT, and then ChatGPT creates a read aloud that we can save as a GM node within the map? So you, when you present the map, or when you create your GM nodes, or when you just copy it over into whatever tool you're using to prep your nodes, you not only have the map image, but you already have a description from someone, and someone in that case is an AI, but from someone who loves to exaggerate and overextend on atmospheric blah blah, but which is great because it gives you the tools that you need. You can always tune it down to what you really need, but it is, I find it quite enjoyable and very inspirational to look at those things. Right, so that's, sorry, I was rambling. That's why
you decided to include it. Great, I love that. That's fantastic. That gives us the context. And we promised you demos, and Till loves playing with this, so let's watch Till play with his new toy.
Yeah, let's play with new toys. Okay, so wait, let's go for that. Let's go into the demo full screen. Okay,
Right.
So we're currently on the test server.
Yes.
And I have a couple of maps here. Guy, you can pick one. We have the Victorian Abbey, so we can look at...
Why not? Lovely. We haven't done Victorian-themed things in quite some time, my good fellow. Let us tread amongst Victorian London.
There you go. Okay. So, our Victorian Abbey actually consists... So this map was made in October. It was a collaboration map, and the asset pack was presented in October with Miskatonian Society.
The Miskatonic Society, perhaps, as well.
Yeah,
yes.
Apologies that I can't remember at the moment. But we have some very nice rooms. Like we have that church here. We have that Vika's study. We have the bedroom. A little very boring
passage
thing, and then we have the crypt. So, where do you want to start? You want to start with Vika's study? Do you want to start with the bedroom?
Well, technically, if this is an abbey, it would be an abbess's office. But yes, let's start with the office. Let's give it something easy.
You are absolutely right. So let's make this the abbot's...
Abbess.
Abbot's office, right?
Okay.
So...
Right.
Parquet
flooring.
I need to get rid of that quickly. Oh, and I also need to get rid of myself.
But only temporarily.
I'll join you over here.
Yeah, join me over here. There we go.
No, rock out!
Yeah.
Right.
All right.
Okay. So at the bottom here. Oh, this is really unfortunate. Give me a second. Let me make this. Nope, wrong one.
Well, it was the right one, which is going the wrong way.
No, no, no. Don't confuse me.
AI generate button. There we go. Yeah, perfect.
Kind of perfect. Okay, we can live with that. Okay, so you might already know that we have those notes, which were typically just intended for you to take quick notes. And then in the top menu where you have the GM notes, they can then populate your GM notes there. Or if you go into the campaign view and you select the room in the campaign view, you see those notes in the GM view for yourself, so you can quickly read your notes from here. But let's say that we don't want to write any of that ourselves, but we want to let the AI do it. So I click on AI generate, and it gives me at least some presets here where I can play around with. So it's the room's name. It's what genre do we want to, we leave that open. So we could make this
Horror.
Gothic
horror.
You can type the language that you prefer. So this is not tied to English alone. If you, like me, for example, I would like to have them in German. And of course you can pick a length. All of this is in development. So our short is not really short yet. We still need to tweak on all those things. But generally speaking, let's keep it for short now. So what you can see here is actually the kind of the information that the prompt gets from the room. This is important because you might not name your rooms, so you have unnamed rooms there. You might not name your folders, so you have just prop folder 1, prop folder 2, prop folder, and so on and so forth. And sometimes, for example, on our test server, I'm going to leave it like that. This should be a fishbone parquet. But on the test server, when I uploaded the prop, I didn't want to type it all, so I just made it wood fish, so I can differentiate it from the other parquets. And we're going to see that this has a huge impact on what the story tells. Therefore, we've made this editable. If something's in there that you feel like that shouldn't be in there, or we have here a bunch of picture frames, and there's one unnamed prop, I don't know where that comes from, but we're getting rid of it right now. And another one unnamed prop.
You got 3 bonfires.
Yeah, the bonfires are the light source.
Yes.
So let's just get rid of the obvious stuff and let's see what the rest does. One thing, we are going to tweak it to some extent to get rid of obvious things that shouldn't be in the prompt. However, the way that you build your map kind of influences the way that this prompt goes. So you might need to edit some bits and pieces in there. It kind of makes it obsolete if you have to edit the prompt for 20 minutes to then generate something. So we're trying to speed it up as much as possible. But let's press generate and see what happens. Test server.
Whoa.
Okay, I'm not sure if I can, I can make it a little bit
we can see it, yeah.
bigger, and that's the best I can do for now. So, can you see it like that?
Yes, yes we can.
Then please, master, make your best Gothic horror narration voice.
My best Gothic horror narration voice, all right? The abbot's office exudes an aura of ancient mystery and foreboding. The walls, constructed of rough Riverland stone, whisper tales of centuries past, holding secrets within their solid embrace. The wooden floor, worn smooth by time and footsteps, creaks eerily under each careful tread, echoing the whispers of unseen spectres. Wow, this is great. And keeps going, and keeps going, and keeps going. Okay.
Yeah. So here. So that one is kind of influenced by the setup of the walls that you do and the floor texture. And luckily, it did not speak, as in my testings, about the fish that you can hear splashing underneath, or the wooden fish carved into the floor. So if the texture's named weirdly, it might be weird. The next bit actually then talks about lighting and interior. So we're playing with things in here at the moment. It says the room is dimly lit by a plethora of gas lamps, which is nice because that's what we put there. They're flickering flames casting dancing shadows upon the shadowed corners. Nice. The light they emit very strangely. Some cast, and now here's a fun bit. We actually tried to convert the light color that you adjust on the light slider, where you say this is the color. We converted it into the equivalent word and gave it to ChatGPT. So now you can get really weird lighting in there. For example, here, some cast a Chardonnay glow, others a tobacco brown hue, adding to the unsettling ambience.
Yes.
Nice. I'm not sure we're going to leave it in there, though.
Oh, that last sentence is absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? The air is heavy with the scent of old books and burning embers, a mix of knowledge and danger.
Yeah.
Let's see what it makes for the next one. Despite the somber setting, the office is filled with eclectic objects. A well-used working desk sits alongside a polished round table adorned with a globe, offering whatever that I can't pronounce that word.
Juxtaposition
Of knowledge and exploration. An open Bible rests solemnly beside a stack of books, a black tome, a blue manuscript, hinting at a deeper unknown significance. And so on and so forth. As you can see, short is not short in here.
How long is the long one?
I don't know. Probably a book long.
Your players will just be sitting there going, and what do we have to turn the cassette over when we hear the chime?
Yeah. When you hear the chime, you can turn the cassette over. No, that's not the intention here. The intention is to really have a short read aloud. However, for testing, we need to tweak and work on the prompts, which sometimes results in endlessly long stuff. We actually, at some point, we said, just give us poems. And it did quite nice poems about rooms. So, as you can see, we had a lot of fun playing around with it. So, let's see what happens when we do this as fantasy.
It will be interesting because it's useful for you to have to define the genre of your space as well. Because that sets the tone, doesn't it? So it's useful for you to remember, oh, I was using the word gothic horror, or I was using fantasy when I was creating this space. So all your other descriptions should match as well.
Yes. So the thing is, ChatGPT is very flexible on those terms. So if you say it's fantasy, if you say it's gothic horror, or if you say Cthulhu-esque, ChatGPT doesn't mind. It always kind of gets the clue. We didn't want to make a drop down where you select stuff, or the other way around, where we propose a certain selection, because we don't know what you intend. So we left that as an open field where you can type your genre, and I think that makes it more flexible for the broad variety of game masters out there, where everyone needs something different. So here's it. Now it's kind of wording it a bit differently here. So in the heart of a medieval stone fortress lies the abbot's office, a chamber of ancient wisdom and mystique. The walls crafted from smooth riverland stone whisper tales of bygone eras, holding secrets within a silent embrace. A warm light dances across the wooden fish pattern floor. Nice. No, well, almost. Fishbone parquet floor, casting a soft glow that beckons visitors into a realm of tranquility and contemplation.
It's actually not fishbone, it's herringbone.
Yeah, right. It's herringbone. I remember.
Yeah.
It's not fish. It's herringbone.
Well, this is fantastic, Till, and I think everybody watching, it's really good.
Yeah.
I think even if it produces this length,
Yeah.
you can just choose the sentences you want to keep.
Exactly.
And
You can always cut it down. But I think the idea is, again, Dungeon Fog tries to the peak, the Olymp of where we want to be is the game master who actually forgot to prep something and remembers an hour earlier, an hour before the game starts, and says, I quickly need a map. So our tools should be in a way that you can really quickly create a map or grab something from the hub. And then, of course, there should be a way to really quickly also generate notes out of it.
and now this will take this text and put it into the GM notes section.
Exactly. So this is now stored into the room information. So if you run your campaigns through our campaign viewers, this sits, when you select the room, this sits in the campaign node. And when you go into GM Notes Expert and you want to populate your PDF with it, then this text comes along there as well.
Fantastic.
Right.
Well, we could spend all night trying different prompts.
I
but
want
we've got
to
lots
just
of other things to talk about.
show one difference because where do I have it? Okay, so caves, it detects the different room modes. So if you do cave modes, it actually recognizes that you're discussing a cave in here. But this one was a pretty weird one because it is actually, if I zoom out, you can see it. It doesn't have any rooms.
Right.
It's just a stage. So we said, okay, wait, what if you have an overland map like a forest or a road or a beach or a city that actually is just city, so those houses do not have rooms beneath them. So what if you want to describe the whole stage? And I honestly, I don't know what's happening in here now, because this is, so here you can see what is on the map. This is quite a lot of stuff. Also, if you do something like that, it is recommended to actually group things and name them. So house, let me close that for a second. House is the whole object group so that it can be transformed into, otherwise it would have hundreds of textures that ChatGPT doesn't know how they're related to. But if you group your things properly, ChatGPT can actually work with them. And let's see. Okay, let's get rid of this. Let's see what. Oh, I've selected a shape. What it does with this map.
You need elevator music for while it's generating the text.
Okay, let's see. As night falls over the city streets, a mysterious air envelops the area. Shadows lurk in the narrow alleyways where secrets are whispered, their depths swallowing light and sound. The flickering glow of gaslit lamps cast an ethereal illumination, painting the cobblestone pathways with a dim golden hue. Nice, that's that one. Of fabric and sticks. Okay, so he's talking about the canopies here. Hiding from prying eyes, a basket of bananas sits inconspicuously. Okay. Ripe fruit spilling out, a stark contrast to the otherwise desolate surrounding. Nearby crates clutter and hint at the forgotten stories, the palm, and so on and so forth. Oh my god, it's writing. Yeah, it works. Actually, I'm surprised. It hasn't been working really good in the past iterations, but now it actually looks quite nice.
Quite good. Yeah, as you say, it is about grouping, and also we know that AI needs to be prompted correctly, and that
Yeah.
there is an emerging art form in terms of
Yes,
prompting
true.
AI.
Yeah, it's
And
not just an art form. It's there are jobs for hire at the moment where you could
yeah, yeah,
find a job as prompt designer.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Um. So we're tuning it to the best that we can for kind of iteration one, and we are. It probably will take next week to finish it up and polish it a bit. But then we feel like it's ready for you guys, for the audience, for our community to test it. And we're putting it live. This is a feature again because it is actually ChatGPT is charging us for it. So this is a feature that is not going to be available for free accounts. This is a premium feature. And it's going to be in a testing phase for, I would say, the summer. And then we will decide on how can we improve it, or does it need improvement? Was it completely useless? What are we doing with it?
Absolutely. What do you folks think about it in chat? Are you excited? Are you, yeah? What are you? But whilst you're doing that, answering that question that I have asked you, Till, we've got so much more to still go through. We've got more demos coming up.
Yes,
which
more
is
demos.
exciting. And so we've brought back, by the way, and that's coming up very soon. So stay with us. We've brought back a favorite of yours by your request, which may or may not involve looking at your maps, but with a twist, I might add. So, Till, we're talking asset news next.
Oh, I'm
We're
switching.
just ending the show right now.
Yeah, no. Sorry. Asset
Okay, there we go.
views. Yes,
Right.
asset
Okay.
views. My apologies. It's too many windows, too many screens. So, asset news. I would like to do something in regards to the asset news. And that is we have an asset manager.
Right.
And so why don't we just look at the asset manager and see what has been going on in terms of assets in the past month in May. Just briefly throwing a look at what has been released in May, because even if we have been speaking about our content subscription asset packs all the time, but we have neglected the fact that our marketplace artists are really busy and really productive and are adding tons and tons of stuff to the marketplace. And therefore, I want to kind of bring them to your attention a bit more and talk about what they have been doing in the past month and what has been added to the marketplace. And again, for those of you who are Patreons, to like Patreon supporters to those specific artists, those packs are already included in your premium subscription, as long as you've connected your Patreon account with Dungeonfall. But generally speaking, the last pack that we have released was the Castles pack in 2020, like in last month. We are already working on the next pack. It's not finished yet, so we will be talking about it in our next Mapping It Out. It will be released this month, like in June, and we will see it. But in the meantime, since we have released our latest content pack, Forgotten Adventures has released 4 new packs to the marketplace, which is the Dungeon Decor, the Builders Pack, like Builders Pack 13 and 12, so tents and circus tents and stuff like that, and even more Dungeon Decor, which we can just look at for a second. Oh no, or we can't, because I might have timed out, but there you go.
Fish. Lots of fish.
Lots of fish. It seems to be a fish-based pack.
We need a fish-based pack. That is what we need in our lives. More fish.
for next time, I'm going to connect the demo account with Patreon, so we can actually see them without watermarks.
Okay, so that's what they've got on them at the moment is watermarks. But it's actually quite useful because we can see that there are some free items in
Yes,
it.
yes, yes. So there are, as always, Forgotten Adventures. I think Chipping Grove, most artists do this. There are some packs, some assets in there that are free, and the rest are then watermarked, which means that they're only available to you if you're Patreon. And yeah, there you go. Like this is the fish pack. How's it called? Oh, it's just called Dungeon Decor, but apparently it's a fish decor. Let's look at Chipping Grove. Chipping Grove had really nice assets. And here you can see it's books. It's a lot of books and clutter that you can put on your maps. So those are diamonds. Are there diamonds? Let me.
Now, Till, when folks are adding to their offerings, like these artists, they are giving you guys all of the tags that come with the product as well. So will that just directly plug into ChatGPT? Are they aware of that process? Or if we're using packs we've bought from these guys, are we going to have to add in new tags and that sort of thing?
So the ChatGPT integration is like super recent, and the reason, so we haven't properly announced it to our artists because we don't know yet how and what
Impact it's going to have.
impact it's going to have and changes it comes, because honestly it's like an asset marketplace is a competitive area. There are a lot of asset marketplaces out there. So for us, it is quite important not to be that marketplace that forces you to type thousands and thousands of texts and prompts. Just to put it like, they can tag stuff. So they have all the means to tag their things, but for ChatGPT, we're actually looking at the file names, like the there you go, chair 3, right? That's how they name it, and that's what we're using for ChatGPT, because they typically, the artists do name their things quite properly. So that's something that we can really easily use. ChatGPT, we do factor in the text that assets have, and we might even introduce like an AI tag. We say, use this for the AI. But that is specifically why the asset manager is really helpful, because that allows now you as a user to give those tags yourself if you want to. If you don't want to, that's fine, right? But I'm very hesitant on putting that workload on the artists. So that should not be mandatory. It should be optional if they want to do that.
Fantastic. Ben Clayton's got a question. How do I see only the apps I have access to, i.e. content subscription plus packs I have bought?
How do you see only those that you have access to? That is the question. So you don't want to see everything. You just want to see what you need. Okay, that was actually part of one of the updates that the bug fixes that we patched live, I think today, I'm not certain. The available packs should actually only show the packs that you have access to. So the Discover page talks about everything that has recently happened and kind of is a good introduction to working with the asset manager. It introduces you and lets you discover stuff. The available packs is where you see what is available to you in your current state. So for me, in this test account here, I have no Patreon integration and I have no marketplace purchases, but I am a premium member, which means that when I scroll down, I will only see Dungeon Fog asset packs. But for you, if you are Patreon subscriber to Forgotten Adventures or Chipping Grove or Planet Hoppers, then you might see more packs in there. If you've purchased some, they might show up in here as well. So the available packs, they show you what's available to you. The content subscription then lets you browse, again, everything. And the marketplace lets you also browse everything that's on the marketplace, but not necessarily the things that you own. Does that answer your question?
That does indeed. Thank you, says Ben Clayton. Absolutely. All right. Awesome. Okay. Well, this is always good. It's always great to see what we can do and what is coming up. But we need to go to a different space.
Exactly. So we have been asked a couple of times why we got rid of the or why we stopped showing our kind of staff picks of maps. And the reason for it was that for some time there were only a couple of artists submitting to the hub, where we had always the same artists, or like community artists being featured there, which honestly would be fair because they're making mega cool maps. But it felt like some kind of favorism where we are always featuring the same artists, whereas people are constantly putting maps to the hub. And when you have a staff pick, which means when you have 10 people in the company who can submit the maps they like best, and then we condense them down to 5 maps, it always ends up with kind of the hyper best maps. And that's why I would say we're not doing that anymore, but instead we're just going to the hub and we're looking at what has been added to the hub in the past 4 weeks. Because here we can see that the latest maps being added, and I forgot to ask how I filter it by date. So it's probably more than, oh no, it might be, I think this might be the 4 weeks gap, but I'm not sure. We will see. We're refining that. Next time I will have an overview of exactly the maps that have been released in the last month, but now we can go to, it's sorted by time, so we can see the history of maps that have been released. And
it looks like, I'm just going to say, it looks like pits or chasms is the theme for this month. If you look at it,
yeah, that's true. It's a lot of
depth stuff is going on, which is exciting because depth is quite difficult to achieve successfully, and yet we can already see from these basic thumbnails. Yeah, let's look at Rickety Ridge.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, now it's open.
Wow.
Yeah, look at that. I think really cool.
This is by Arcane.
Yeah.
So Arcane, well done on this map. Lovely orc camp, orc mine, perhaps, or goblin camp, as it says there at the top. Lovely. Using the orc assets. What are those? Are those lines that are crossing, or chains that are crossing the chasm as well as the bridges?
Yeah, it's kind of, I think it's very, very orcish, right? If you have those hanging chains all crisscrossing over the chasm. I think it's an amazing map because it has the depth. If I would change anything on it, I would probably introduce different lights, like darkness, the lower you go down. So make it.
I see. Yeah, they've got some haze right at the bottom, but I kind of feel like they almost needed to do that on the bridges as well, just to help separate. But yeah, stunning map. Absolutely
stunning map. I agree.
Okay, so go find Arcane and follow Arcane.
So let's look at chasms then. Let's see.
Sure.
My internet is super slow at the moment.
Okay. And then we got to look at a green one because there's a lot of green ones going on. Oh, interesting.
Ah, there, I can make it bigger. Okay. So that looks like, I think...
It's a cave?
No, I don't think it's a cave. Is it a cave? What's the name? It's a
stalactites?
Valmark Temple, is it called? I would say it's kind of, it's on the cliff side, and it's kind of a temple ruin. You know what I think of? There are a couple of those kind of strange temples in Skyrim, where you have the hole in the ground and you go
That's
down
right.
and then you go
Yes.
into one of those entrances. That's what I think of when I look at that.
I do like that. I like the stairs going down into the lower section so that you can see that there's definitely a lower section there. Yeah. And what is that pink thing in the middle?
It looks like it's a broken statue. And I think it's very cleverly mixing some of the broken assets that we have.
Smashed altar of some kind. I mean, that's an adventure on its own, isn't it?
Yeah.
Something was released from that and they need to put it back together again, or they
Love to see the GM notes on that map.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, let's look at a green one.
You want to look at a green one?
Yes, give me a green one. And let's scroll down because we've seen these top
Yeah.
ones now. They're stunning. There we go. We got a nice what are those swirls?
Yeah, Johnny did. So favorism again. Johnny, you're back up on screen.
It's just because it's green.
Yeah, but it's an elven forest path. I'm sorry, my internet connection is it might be the stream and all that stuff, so it takes a bit longer. But what is really cleverly done is, I think, combining the concept of those elusive elves with those swirls to create something very fairy-like in terms of forest. And it's not just that swirl here. You can see it's all like it's everything is kind of swirly, wavy, which makes it very interesting. Very, very interesting.
And we've got shadows under the trees.
Yeah.
Which gives it a nice sense of depth.
Yeah.
Which is always a good thing. Yeah, those swirls. But this is something that I love about map making, right? Is that you wouldn't necessarily think to do it.
Fey mounts, aren't they?
Yes, or fairy circles.
Yeah, fairy circles.
Yeah, absolutely. But what a striking image! That the moment you see this, you're going, "Oh, what? Wait, what's that? What made that? Where did that come from?" All right, now there was another one right next to it, which also caught my eye. That one.
That one.
That one.
The back streets. Yeah, Cyberpunk. I never play it, but I always love looking at the maps because they're always really cool.
This is by Tor hash 4079.
Yeah.
Very nice cyberpunk use. A lot of those, I mean, those lanterns are from the Orient expansion pack, I think.
Maybe, but I think we did some lanterns in Cyberpunk as well.
Yeah.
I'm not certain. It might be hijacked from the Far East pack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the use of color and fog just makes it very atmospheric.
Fog is super important if you're doing cyberpunk stuff, because when you think of all those Blade Runner alleyways, they always vaped through by those misty clouds of fog.
Yes. What I also like here is that it's not just a straight line. You know, the alley is not a straight line. There's lots of little corners where you've got the one building stretching out into the street. You've got a negative space on the opposite side. So you've got things to hide behind. You've got those dumpsters there, which really sell that sense of realism. about this space. This is a working back alley. So Tor 4079, I think, did a good job on that one.
Yeah, absolutely. And we can go on and on and on and on. Like, here's another. I just want to look at it. I've seen it a couple of times, and because that's a really interesting way to. He must have started down here, because that's that's a shape. So that's the path.
Yes.
And then just did the and then spiral over it in iteration over iteration. And that actually, I've never done it before, but this is super clever to make it like that. I always created circles and made them smaller and kind of...
Right. Yes. And then maybe put in some shadows?
Yeah, some shadows would be nice.
Well, there are some shadows, or is it just an optical illusion that it's getting darker?
Here, definitely here is a shadow.
Stone path to loot. Well, if that doesn't get adventurers to follow and fall into the trap, I don't know what.
Yeah, definitely going to be a mimic down there.
Exactly. Oh dear. All right. Well, those are 5 maps which we have randomly picked in front of you based solely on ridiculous things like the color and what looks interesting. I think, though, you'll agree with me, these maps have just been improving and improving and improving. These community maps are just gorgeous.
Really nice job with the shading in here.
Yeah, to create the hills.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
Guys, if you're looking for maps and you need inspiration, just go to the hub. There's so much amazing stuff in there. You don't have to draw all the maps yourself. Just go in there and look at what others are doing. All of those maps you can clone into your own account. They stay editable, so you just adjust them to your games. If you're creating your own maps, and probably you know that your players aren't watching, or those maps have already been played on, make them public. Just right-click on the map and say set to public, publish the map, and other people can profit from it as well. So, yeah.
Lovely. And with that brings us to the end of the battle map editor. And now we start talking about DEIOS.
They what?
DEIOS. But before we go there, Nick Lauer has one last question. And that question is, does the ChatGPT integration expose the artist's work to the AI training process? Or are you only using text fields?
The artist's work, you mean your work process, like what you're doing when you...
No, the actual artwork itself. So is
no.
AI
No.
I'm assuming that's correct.
We're just using the text, like it's purely based on what we take out of meta information from Dungeon Fog, which means the prop name, which you name or comes from the system, the tags that might be added by the artists or by us internally, but the artwork itself is not being handed out because we don't feel super certain about going that way. It's just text based. It's text prompt chat, like language model based. It's not image model based.
Fantastic. Okay. DEIOS. What is the update on DEIOS? Well, we know what the update is because you've already briefly mentioned it to us.
Yes. Okay. So terrain update has been released, is on the auto updater already, so everyone should already have it and should be able to play around with it. If you haven't figured out what it is that changed on the terrain stuff, we're going to look at it in a second. What is being worked on, is being prepped for next week, is the new city asset pack, and along with that, couple of bug fixes that we just, whenever we get an error report or whenever we get something on Discord. By the way, if you haven't joined us on Discord yet, do it. That's where you can chat with the devs. That's where you can chat with us. That's the fastest way to get a response on something's broken or something, or you're not sure if it's broken, or if you're just not sure how to use the tool. dungeonfog.com/Discord, and you'll be forwarded into our Dungeon Fog Discord, into our official one. That's where we all meet on a daily basis and chat. Right.
And also, on that note, whilst we're doing public service announcements, please hit that like button on the stream if you like these streams. It lets us know that these are worth doing. And also, helps with the algorithm and all that kind of stuff. But just smack that like button. I promise you it doesn't hurt it. It actually likes it when you touch it. And let's move on very quickly, because I need ChatGPT to write my scripts.
Yeah, that got creepy very quickly.
Very creepy, yes. Moving on. Assets.
And here we have the first example of the new assets. We have introduced, I don't even know how many, I think 60 probably, new assets, all around tents, basically. It's market tents, circus tents, it's tent carts, tent wagons, it's everything that is kind of fabric related is in there. So you can see if you want to have a little marketplace that surrounds your village, or that's in the center of your village, you have a bunch of stuff in there. And when we were doing it, we realized, when we're doing tents, it would be actually interesting to do something else than just market and circus. And that is military camps. So some of those tents in there, and that is actually not the finished version. There are a couple of assets missing that are being worked on at the moment. Like those wooden spikes that you would like to have outside your military fortress. There are a couple of different tents still in there coming. And more wooden towers to put on your barricades. Yeah, but we said, okay, when we're doing that tents, let's do military tents as well. And so we have now a new pack coming next week to you that brings a lot of tents into your map making.
I love it. Of course, you realize that you can never run when you are around tents.
Why can I not? Oh my God, you're doing a joke on my behalf. I don't know.
I am.
Yeah, why
You
can
can
I?
only ran. You can never run.
Why can I not run?
You can ran. You cannot run because it's past tense.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, again, ChatGPT should replace me. Yeah, just never mind. We've got some questions here which we're going to answer, hopefully.
You've been demoted.
No! Let me out, please! So, Lance S. Darby asks, and this is quite a complicated question, so I'm going to do my best. I did not learn of the Kickstarter for DEIOS until after it had closed. I bought it as soon as it was available. Kickstarter now has an option to allow you to reopen the campaign in order to get the campaign packs. Would you consider doing this?
Really? I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either. This is something new to me.
Okay.
To reopen old campaigns? Interesting.
So, it's not going to be a hard no on that. I must say, however, that because of the, well, just to be completely honest with you, it was not the most successful Kickstarter campaign in terms of development time and all the hiccups and all the problems that we ran into. I feel like if we go now and open it back up, we are going to get chased by people with torches and just by the audacity of doing that. I think what we do is we're going to make it we're going to finish the city map maker, we're going to finish the world map maker, and we're going to put it into a stable beta that is then actually something that we can proudly present as a finished product that is kind of then being developed onward and onward and onward and onward. And at that point, it might be interesting to say, okay, we have those asset packs. They go into the marketplace where you can get them. Or if we feel confident enough that we're not getting flack for reopening the Kickstarter campaign, then we might do it then. But right now, I feel like we are in the depth of delivering the product, and it would be strategically a really bad move to open up the Kickstarter campaign again and say, hey, more Kickstarter stuff, give us more money, because that's not the message that we want to convey. If you want those assets, I'm sure we find a way to do that without seeming weird on the Kickstarter sphere.
All right, so under investigation. Nicholas Kopp asks, maybe it's already been said and I simply did not hear it, but are we on track regarding the timeline for DEIOS? Which I think you kind of answered already, but are we on track?
Yes. So if we think of the original track, then we have left that track 2 years ago. But if we're thinking about what do we want to achieve in terms of finishing the city map maker and finishing the world map maker, we are very much on track. We're quite happy with the progress so far. City map maker is now just being reviewed by you guys. We get feedback on it, we polish stuff, but the feature set is almost complete, and we're happy with what it is right now. That doesn't mean that we stop adding things to it, because I'm sure when we do world map stuff, we will run across other things. You know what? While I talk about that, shouldn't I quickly open the DEIOS demo?
Yes, let's do the demo.
And when it comes to the world map editor, it actually is quite, I was quite to learn that most of the stuff that needs to be kind of transitioned back into the world map editor, back from the city maps, that isn't overly complicated to bring back, which means that we hope that after the summer, we are on the same track with the tool sets of the city map maker and the world map maker. And then it's still, there's still a couple of tools that we want to address. Namely, the biomes are still on our list to do. I'm quite confident that we can do that by the end of the year. So looking at something where we can actually bring DEIOS into beta by the end of the year looks quite good at the moment.
That's good to hear. That's good to hear. And yes, so just remember Discord, join their Discord, and you can find that at www.dungeonfog.com/Discord. Great place to get little bits of insight, news, deal directly with the devs, and ask your questions and all those kinds of wonderful things, as well as learn from each other in terms of tips and techniques and whatnot. Okay, so Till, we've got some islands.
Yeah, I just opened one of my testing maps. I actually used that one to create screenshots for the Kickstarter update, which, my apologies, was not released last month. So I did a bigger Kickstarter update for today's stream, and it's going to be published after the stream ends, or tomorrow morning. We will see. So this is just a playground for me where I did a couple of things. So let's look at the terrain elevation. Let me create a very simple island here. Let me shade it. Do you have any preferences on? Do you want to? Let's make ice. I think.
Yeah, why not?
I feel like ice would be fun. And maybe well, let's wait with the darker shading until we have the terrain. So when you click on the terrain tool, we actually put the new terrain mode to default because I feel like it is the coolest. It is exactly what you want when you want to draw terrain. So it is the level mode. You could go into just add mode or subtract mode, which does not specifically play with the levels, with the terrain levels, which just adds additional highlights or lowlights to it. So let's play with the level mode. The brush radius, as always, you can use your mouse wheel and Control Shift to change that on the fly. And I think it's, and with Shift mouse wheel, you can now also adjust just the height of it. So why do we need that? Because if we want to make something like, let's say, let's make it a little bit bigger. Let's say there is some terrain here. We'll see that it is very, very slight, but we can, oh, wait, undo. That's not what I wanted to do. But we can use this to actually create something like a very light ravine here. And when I then use my Shift mouse wheel, to ramp it up slightly, step by step, it really doesn't like OBS and there you go.
Now, Till, something that I automatically want to ask is, when placing the props down,
Yeah.
would it be possible for those props to change scale based on the elevation information?
Yeah, we discussed that.
So,
it would.
Yeah.
It actually would. It would be an interesting. It would be an interesting bit of information to say, okay, when I place it down based on the terrain level. The development behind that, however, would have prolonged us quite substantially, because that would mean that we don't just create the texture shader on it. We would have to store that height information permanently. And whenever you edit stuff, like on the initial placement, sounds fun, but what if I go in and I now kind of, let's say I go with reduced height. So I'm reducing my height now, and I do this, right? Now it's cutting. So this is super weird. This is at 10 meters. I'm cutting at 20 meters, which means I'm cutting from here, but I'm adding to the different terrains here. And so I create this really weird level difference. Now, what happens to buildings that are already on there? Would they jump around and change? We don't know. So we said, okay, that's a really cool idea, but it's an idea for future development. It's not an idea for version 1. To say, okay, the terrain actually infuses the building size. Because you can do that by yourself just by using, I need to click here. Let's look at some. I feel like those buildings need to be there. So I can just very simply make them a bit bigger and a bit smaller down here. And if I want to brush the area, I can actually use the randomize to, for example, make the scale between a min of 85 and a max of 95. So everything in there will be smaller. So it's something that you, with just a few clicks, you can do yourself. Whereas if we would code it, we'd probably sit there for 2 months, 3 months to do it.
That's fair.
So that's just terrain stuff, right? Let's do another island down here. And I really like that one. That's my newest favorite. No, that's the wrong one.
And just like that, no longer the favorite.
No, and you're out. You're no longer the favorite. It is a good one, but I was actually thinking about another one. Where is it? Yeah, I think it's that one. Oh, let's increase it. Oh, that was decrease. I wanted to do this. Yeah, I really like that texture. And let's make the softness, let's see. Even more, 100 meters. Oh. There you go. Now it blends quite nicely.
Yeah.
And which road do you want to use for your market? I think the cobblestone road is still a nice one. It's very dark though. Well, it's fine. Let's use that one. Let's make it more friendly. I'm not sure if my road size isn't a bit too big.
Feels a bit big, but let's see.
Yeah, let's see. I should have placed a prop for reference. Oh, right. I need to be here. Yeah, it's too big. Sorry. I don't like it.
So when you're making maps, do you talk to yourself or are
Yes,
you
all the time.
yeah.
Yeah, I typically yeah, for example, like this, I'm like, hey, wait, that looks like a really, really badly drawn duck. and isn't it? Quack, quack.
Okay.
Sorry. So there's things, that's what's happening in my brain where I'm like, nah, maybe I should do something different because this is not going to look like. And I'm kind of, oftentimes I kind of tell myself in my head the story of what's happening there. Just not so much in terms of what am I doing on screen. I'm not saying I'm drawing a line here. That's when I'm really tired, then I'm just commenting what I'm doing. No, more like the marketplace has moved to town, and there's going to be lots and lots of tents and different merchants. Tent, where are you? Apparently not. Oh, market. Oh, right. It's test. It's a test. No, that's when that's what happens when you talk to yourself. It's tent, but it's not being marked as watercolors yet. Okay, so here we have a lot of, let's say this. Let's pick all those here. Yeah, we have that one. Let's pick that one. And now let's brush it to roadside. Okay. And when you have come again?
A happy little marketplace.
A happy little marketplace. It's very, so I'm going to undo this once more because it is very, it's too organized. It's too structured. So when you don't like that, what you can do is you can actually, for this brush, you can also randomize the scale and rotation, which then very slightly scales them differently and rotates them, gives them a bit of an offset rotation. And when I turn off the roadside and I say, I don't know, I always have to play around with this, like a density of probably 70 and an overlap of 20%. Let's do something like this. Yeah, exactly. Then I can add those those random areas, because I feel like a marketplace tends to be chaotic to some degree. So you have kind of those bleed outs, which then I then use a different road type for it, which I'll probably make a bit smaller. And then I start to just find my way where I can, as if I would be a someone. If many people would walk that way, eventually it would turn into something like a, how do you call it, a trample road?
Yeah, just a footpath.
Yeah.
A new question. Is there a possibility to fill the gaps between the roads to get a real marketplace, like a dirt field within the road system?
Is there a way
Is it
to fill the gaps? You mean
between
those
roads?
gaps? I'm talking.
Yeah, I suppose so, yes, with bits and pieces.
Yeah, that's what we're going to do in a minute. If you're talking about dirt, I would do this with a brush. Like I would go in and say, okay, you want dirt in there. Let's say that it might be too much for now. But you could make it something like this, to add some dirt to it. And again, without overextending our stream time, I would actually then work with a couple of textures to make this more interesting. But the trick then is to actually populate the spaces in between with clutter. And then take some of those, maybe something like this, and this. And we probably need to decrease the density quite a lot. Yeah, because if you have too high of a density, it gets weird there, but we can, and super weird here.
So now we get the border of the road, more like the road fading to the side, so not having a strongly delineated edge
This one you're talking.
on the sides as well. So it's almost as if it's not a road, it's almost like the hint of the road. So no border on the sides. I think that would be it would, you'd have to make that
I got you.
brush
Oh,
stroke.
okay, got you. Yeah. Well, the whole road thing was something that we introduced and that we are also learning our kind of experience there, and your feedback is super valuable. So we already know that we want to introduce a lot more different road types. For example, as you said, a mode where you can, when you select the road specifically, where you could not just pick between those 4 road types, but you could actually then pick what outline or no outline or blurred outline is with that road. But we haven't implemented it yet because we didn't even know if the initial road tool would be welcomed by the community. Because same with here, there still is open how does the blending of a road work? How does it end? Because it's right now you always kind of have to cheat a little bit and say, oh, that's why it's ending here.
Yeah. Absolutely.
If you
Okay.
want to, if you don't want to wait on us, you can of course just like reduce the softness to something like 20, and make a really small brush here with the dirt, and then go like, okay, and here. Oh, wait. Nope, it's blending into that road because I didn't give it a different setting length. Nope, doesn't like it. Okay. but that would be the way to make something like you have asked. Yeah. Okay.
Right.
I think
Lovely.
we're running. I wanted to make a military camp too, but we're running out of time, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I think your market is pretty exciting, to be honest with you.
It could be much more exciting. Like
Of course.
it's still.
Of course, that's a whole stream in its own.
Yeah.
In its own.
Yeah, it is. But I think the assets are really nice. Like when you zoom in, you can see they are good mix between details, and when you zoom out, it's still, I think, recognizable in comparison. Let's just look at the map that don't save that. Let's look at the map that I did for the screenshots.
Yeah.
Like if you look at that in comparison to the buildings, it's quite obviously marketplace and a fair area, whereas the buildings are much more solid in their approach. Yeah.
Fantastic. Till, thank you so much for joining us this evening and talking us through all of the amazing things that have been coming up and developed and put together and all that kind of stuff. And thank you for joining us for this stream. Always good to have your questions and thoughts and comments to take away and reflect upon, add to, or build upon. So thank you for watching. Anything else, Till?
No, I can't wait to get your feedback on all the new stuff. I'm very much looking forward to it. So again, come and join us on Discord if you haven't already. That's the best way to let us know how you like it. Share your maps. Make sure that if you do battle maps, make them available to the community. That would be really nice of you. And apart from that, we're done.
Happy map making.
You got
Did
me.
I get it?
Oh, you got me.
All right. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.